you ever thought about a motorcycle vacation in Canada, and specifically the west coast of Canada and British Columbia? Freedom Biker Tours has a tour program that takes riders from Vancouver up through the Fraser Canyon to Whistler, the Sunshine Coast, and Vancouver Island, riding through one-of-a-kind scenic locations on some of the best motorcycle roads in the world through this amazing, unbelievably scenic Pacific coastal region, and experiencing the famous, authentically Canadian, diverse cultural landscape. Freedom Biker Tours is the #1 motorcycle tour company in Canada. Your cage-free, worry-free vacation experience. No cars, no buses, just motorcycles. We're as close to all-inclusive as you can get, and safety is our primary concern. So you don't need to worry. We take care of everything. Let us do that for you. Hey gang, this is JD from Freedom Biker Tours. I'm personally inviting you to join us April the 6th for the 4th event in a series of live stream events on YouTube. The April the 6th live stream will showcase our tour program, Ride the Canadian West Coast. So join us on Saturday, April the 6th at 5 p.m. Pacific Time for an hour of conversation, questions, and fun looking at our program, Ride the Canadian West Coast. Check out Facebook and YouTube for the participant link, and we'll see you there.
I've had a few guys comment on social media, I can do that itinerary in 2 days, man. That's kind of boring. And I'm like, well, you know what, brother? Then you're not the kind of clientele that we want on our tours. If that's the kind of riding you want to do, with all due respect, it's cool. Ride how you want to ride. But ours are vacation packages. It's not all about hopping on the bike, riding 1,000 kilometers, cracking a beer or two, having a burger, and going to bed and doing it again the next day. That's not what it's about. It's about enjoying the region that you're riding in, finding out about the culture, finding out about the cuisine, finding out about the attractions, looking at taking the photo ops, experiencing that region.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the 4th in our live stream series, where we're going to look at the various rides that are being done by Freedom Biker Tours. So I'm your host, Rob. I'm the Canadian Maritimes Road Captain, and I'm also the main talker on some of these little podcasts. So I ride a 2014 Victory Cross Country, try to be a little bit different, and that's part of the fun of the things we do. And so I'm going to introduce the other members of the panel, and I'm going to start by going all the way to Australia and bringing in one of our international partners, David he's all the way in Australia. Hello, David.
Hi, Rob, and everyone watching. It's great to be back. We had a bit of a break there, but Easter got in the way, and we've now got we've got a painted room in the house. Regrettably, no riding time. My bike, a 2005 Softail Deluxe Harley Davidson, and a 2015 Royal Enfield Himalayan. So a bike for all reasons is what I call to when the wife goes, which one are you getting rid of? I go, neither. I've got 2 reasons to have bikes. So yeah, looking forward to today. West Coast Canada looks really good. So I guess we should introduce the others.
Sounds good. Next, I'm bringing in Travis. He is the West Coast Road Captain and lives in one of the nicer areas. It's not quite on this route, but really close to it. Hello, Travis.
Oh, I'm going today. I ride a 2019 Ultra Limited. I actually just got back from out enjoying some of the scenery, and this is my backyard that we're going to talk about tonight.
Cool. And last but not least, we're going to bring in our main person here, which is JD.
Hey guys. Hola. I guess I should say hola.
That's two more streams. We'll talk in Spanish in 2 streams.
Yeah, that's the only word in Spanish I know other than dos cerveza and
por favor,
and baño. Where's the bathroom after I've had dos cerveza?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, hasta la vista, baby. Anyway, like Rob said, I'm JD. I am the founder, owner, president, Freedom Biker Tours. road captain on most of the tours too, all that stuff. What do I ride? I ride, my personal bike is a 2017 Softail Deluxe Custom Tasman. He's fully customed out, and lots of artwork on it and straight pipes, fishtails, ape hangers, modifications to the engine and training, all that stuff. And then I have, for guiding the tours in Western Canada, I have a 2018 Street Glide Special. And again, it was custom built by a fellow in Saskatchewan. Very low kilometers, really cool paint job, lots of extras on it as well. Stage 3, it's got a 114 engine in it, so it's a real rocket, this thing. And it's his name is, in Spanish, La Bestia Negra, which in Spanish means the black beast, because he's fully blacked out. Everything. He's got not an inch of chrome on him anywhere. So
Yeah, chrome's hard to clean anyway. Kind of annoying sometimes.
yeah, well, my other bike, my personal bike, the Softail, is full of chrome. So yeah, I wanted something that was a little easier to look after. So
Makes sense.
there you have it. Yeah.
So before we get started talking about the West Coast Tour, JD, can you take a few minutes and talk about Freedom Biker Tours itself? I did play a clip at the as part of the intro where you were on a podcast with Denver Woods, V-Twin Life, and you kind of talked about some neat stuff there. So let's talk about Freedom Biker Tours and what makes us unique.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I've been invited on a couple of podcasts in the last few weeks. It's been a lot of fun doing it. I hope to be able to do more. Freedom Biker Tours the concept was developed through the research I did about 9 years ago for a master's degree in tourism management, and the thesis I had to write at the end of the degree program. I did it on biker culture and motorcycle tourism, and a lot of things really came to light through that research. But two of the most significant ones were nobody was promoting Canada as an international motorcycle touring destination. And another thing that I realized through that research and after years in the motorcycle world and the biker culture is that those old school core values that sort of rose up after the Second World War through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, those old values were being lost. And I saw an opportunity to revive those values through the branding and the product offerings of Freedom Biker Tours. So those values being freedom, authenticity, acceptance, and brotherhood, sisterhood. Those are the 4 core values of Freedom Biker Tours, and they're also my core values as well as an individual. Freedom Biker Tours programs are not what we call in the motorcycle world iron butt riding. They are vacation packages. It's all about being worry-free and cage-free. Essentially, it's the same kind of product you would get if you took a bus tour vacation, a motor coach vacation. It's the same kind of product you'd get, but we're cage-free. We're on motorcycles. We are not in a bus. Cage. We've got kids in the background going on there. Travis?
I can't help it. The grandchild's come visiting.
Oh, it's David?
We've got a granddaughter who's quite chatty, and she's just outside the door. The door is closed. I'm going to have to block it some other way. But
so we are cage-free. No cars, no buses, just motorcycles. The same reason a dog sticks his head out the vehicle window. Well, that's why we ride motorcycles, right? So group riding is a pretty safe way to go, especially for people that haven't ridden in that region before and don't know the roads, right? It is, and especially if you don't have a lot of experience riding cruiser-style motorcycles, right? Which some people don't. They've got experience riding motorcycles, but perhaps not, large cruiser-style bikes. In a group situation, The group guide sets the pace. It allows more riders of varying levels of experience to participate in the group, right? So it really opens up the opportunity for motorcycle enthusiasts to ride in a group setting in an area where they've never ridden before. The tour participants can relax, put their phones away, enjoy the scenery and the saddle time. It's their vacation, right? That's why they're here. It's their vacation. The tour participants don't need to worry about the navigation. That's the tour guide's job. That's our job. We put the itinerary together. We look after everything. The tour participants don't need to worry about a darn thing, right? Hand-picked motorcycle roads, best in Canada or wherever the tour is. Quality accommodations. We stay in 3.5, 4-star hotels and resorts, lakeview rooms, things like that, right? These are quality tour programs. They're fun, good quality food and beverage establishments. We always try and eat at really cool, unique places and biker-friendly places whenever we can. We take in some of the main attractions and excursions on these tours, the things that people will expect if they've never been to the region before. They've probably heard about a lot of the stuff. Well, we do it so that they can really experience it. We have a support vehicle that carries the luggage for everybody. We have a first aid kit, snacks, water, soft drinks in a cooler, things like that, right? So we're fully loaded and ready to go whenever we stop. Riding in a group tour program is safe. It's reliable. You have some reliability built in there. It's, leave everything to us. It's a worry-free experience. The Freedom Biker Tours crews, we know the area, we know the roads, we know the cool places to stop, the photo ops, the biker-friendly places like I've talked about. Those are all the positive things, the pluses when it comes to taking a motorcycle group tour. So again, our programs are vacation packages, okay? It's as close to all-inclusive as you can get. There are some variables depending on the tour itinerary. Breakfast is included daily on all the itineraries. Included lunches and dinners do vary depending on the itinerary. Some itineraries have more lunches and dinners included, some have less. It just depends on where we're riding, right, and what's available. The taxes and gratuities on any included meals are included. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize when they look at our pricing is taxes and gratuities on included meals are included. Taxes on hotels are included. Everything's included, right? It's not like you're going to be asked to whip out your wallet for 100 other things and more taxes on top of it. With us, you're not going to be. So we pride ourselves in the transparency of our pricing and what's included and not included in the tour. Okay, all you got to do is look at the website, look at the itineraries, look at the stuff that says what's included and what's not included, and you'll have a really, really comprehensive picture of the value that you're getting for your dollar. Okay. One thing that's important to note is you don't need to ride a Harley to participate in our tours. This last year we had a few people riding their own bikes. This year we got a guy coming up from Montana riding a Kawasaki on the Rockies and Vesta BC tour. So if you're riding your own bike, it doesn't need to be a Harley. A lot of people look at our brand, it's all just Harleys. Well, it's not all just Harleys. But our rental partners in Canada, yes, they only rent Harleys. There's not a lot of options in Canada when it comes to rental motorcycles. Harley's is the predominant brand, right? So all makes and models are welcome. So that's really about it. I just want to introduce our affiliate partners. David's here from Ride the World Motorcycle Tours down in Australia. And in another week or two, we've got a really cool live stream where we're going to talk about our brand new 15-day program, Ride Australia's Southeast, that is going to be marketed in another month or two, and it's going to operate 1 year from now down in Australia. That is one heck of a cool motorcycle tour. And then we have our Ride the Yucatan program as well with our affiliate C&M Motorcycle Tours based out of Cancun, Mexico. So, yeah, there we go. So let's talk about Ride Canada's West Coast.
I always want to do that. So let's call up a map here. And Travis, you want to tell us a bit about this overall geographic escapade?
This is some of the best riding starting in Vancouver up into Highway 1, which runs all the way across Canada. It's the start of that. You follow that through the Fraser Canyon, and then Highway 12, which is basically a cliff along the side of a river. And then to Lillooet along back towards Whistler, you go up in the mountains, high in the mountains, with a really twisty road with some beautiful lakes. And then as you drop down from Whistler, you go from basically from the mountains where there's the sky to the sea, down to where the ferry terminals are. Then you cross a short ferry and go up towards Gibson's along the coastline to Powell River, and then you cross over onto the island, which I would say the island's got some of the neatest roads. It's not very big, but there's lots of really twisty roads and forests that are very thick and rainforest style. You ride out to Tofino, Ucluelet, which is one of the most western points that we can get to. Then back into the main part of the island, down to Lake Cowichan, and then you take what I call a paved bush road into the Port Renfrew, which is another West Coast city, and ride the ocean back to Victoria, cross the ferry back to Vancouver. It's some very, very beautiful ride.
The city. We got 50 people that live there?
In where, Port Renfrew?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty cool place. There's a pub there right on the water that is pretty popular with bikers. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know it well.
The Renfrew pub, yeah. I've been there many times myself over the years. Yeah. So are we gonna go sort of day by day through this?
Yep. So let's talk about the scary day, Vancouver.
Yeah, well, we stay in Richmond near the airport for our international travelers can get to Vancouver easily if they're going to fly in. And we stay at the Sandman Signature, which Sandman Signature is a pretty big partner of ours. We use their hotels in several locations. They're a very, very good, nice 4-star, all-inclusive type of property with restaurants and bars and everything like that. Really good product. And then we head out real quick, and as soon as we possibly can, we get off of the Trans-Canada on the north side of the Fraser River, and we take Highway 7 through Maple Ridge, Mission, and all that into Harrison Hot Springs on the first day. And we stay at Harrison Hot Springs Resort, which is another really nice property that friends of mine are the salespeople at. And we have dinner at the Black Forest restaurant with legendary, delicious Bavarian food and legendary German beer and wine and that kind of stuff. So that first day isn't a long day because we got to get out of the city and then we have some nice riding for about 2.5 hours up to Harrison, and it really sort of solidifies the group together. And then we overnight in Harrison Hot Springs. Then the next day.
Well, let's actually let's go back on that thought for a second, because you talk about solidifying the group, because this is also the first day of everyone riding together. So having an easy day isn't necessarily a bad thing get people, especially if they're on rental bikes, give them that chance to feel it out. And as was mentioned on that podcast intro, this is people's vacations. Like, that is a ride a lot of people in Vancouver do. They'll go out to Hope on Highway 7 because there's places you can stop along the way. That's sort of one of the easy scenic bypasses to get out of the city.
Yep. Well, there's Laura, can vouch for the hot springs. She loves it there.
Yeah. So mentioning side chat, we have Laura and Carmen hanging out, posting. Harrison Hot Springs, that whole area is really nice. Can't argue that at all.
Beautiful. So then on day number 3 of the program, but day number 2 of riding, we leave Harrison. This is a good long day. It's about 335 kilometers. We continue on Highway 7. We head over to Hope, which is where the first Rambo, First Blood movie was filmed. and that's the beginning of the Fraser Canyon. We turn north and we head up the Trans-Canada Highway up the Fraser Canyon, which is a very narrow 2-lane highway. We go past Hell's Gate. We're talking mountains on one side, major cliffs, and river way down on the other side, and twisties and turns and ups and downs. It's an amazing ride and great viewpoints. And we head up
through
to
7 tunnels as well.
Yeah, the tunnels. Yeah, absolutely.
There's 7 of them. Yeah.
It's really cool. And then we head up to Lytton and into Lillooet. Lytton is the town that was burnt down a couple of years ago with the fires. It's famous for being one of the hottest places in Canada, Lytton and Lillooet in the summertime. And we're going to stop for lunch at Lillooet's Cookhouse, which is a pretty biker-friendly little establishment there, which is pretty neat. And then from there, we're going to ride a couple hours. We're going to come into Whistler from the north. We're going to ride the infamous Duffy Lake Road, which is the highway. But
well, it's paved now. My first time on it, it wasn't paved all the way.
Yeah, it got paved a few years ago, but it is an amazing 2-hour ride, and it's infamous. It is. It's one of the nicest cycle roads in Canada. So
one thing about this stretch of road as well that is it's almost 2 hours with no other communities. You're not like when you do the Fraser Canyon, you're popping through a small town every 20 minutes or so. You leave Lillooet, you don't really see anything or anybody or even many crossroads until you get to Pemberton.
Yeah. Lots of good photo op stops and things like that along the Duffy. Totally.
Yeah.
Travis, you wanted to add something?
Yeah. Lillooet was 49.5 degrees before it burnt down. That was the temperature recorded there as the hottest place in Canada. Highway 12 is also a really nice little ride that's twisty. You start up in the hills and you kind of drop down along and follow the Fraser River down into Lillooet. And then as you climb out of Lillooet, you go through Seton Lake, there's some really beautiful lakes. Seton's the first one. And then you climb up over the top of a hill, drop into another valley where you come into the Duffy Lake. And then just that whole valley along there is really pretty. And then as you come into Whistler, you see the ski hill and all that. That's where we're staying for the night.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah. Back to Hope, famous for a few other things, because right now that's where the TV show Highway Through Hell is based out of.
Right.
Yeah. So that's, newer than that's making some international news there. With it being played on, I believe it's History Channel or Discovery Channel, one of them, and it's also where I was born, because I was born there and grew up near the top of the map near Cache Creek and Ashcroft. So,
well, we won't hold that against you, man. It's okay.
This is the area I grew up in. So, yeah, so I know this area well.
So the next day is a short day riding. Simply because we have a pretty cool activity to do that day, and we have a ferry ride as well. And so we leave Whistler. So we get up a little bit later that morning, have breakfast. We leave Whistler, and we drive for about 45 minutes to an hour down to Squamish. And then we take the Sea to Sky gondola up to the top of the mountain, and we get to look over Howe Sound, the ocean, the Sunshine Coast. And up there, we'll spend some time having a coffee and walking around and photo ops. It's amazing. I've hiked up that mountain and I've taken the gondola up, and it's fantastic. It's a must-do activity for riding along there. That's the Sea to Sky Highway that connects Whistler and Vancouver. And then after we finish at the Sea to Sky gondola, we take another 40 minutes or so. We ride south down to the town of Horseshoe Bay. And that's where we catch the ferry. It's a 35-minute ferry to cross Howe Sound to the world famous town of Gibsons on the Sunshine Coast. Gibsons is famous because if you remember the TV show back in the 70s and 80s called Beachcomber, that's where it was filmed. And we're going to have dinner that night at Molly's Reach Seaside Restaurant and Bar, which is where the Beachcombers used to hang out. So Canadiana history there and some fun things to do. And Gibson is a cool little town and that. So we stay there that night.
One of the key features of this day is not having to really go through Vancouver at all, because you literally, just as you get to the outskirts of Vancouver, is where you get on the ferry. So that's a very key point.
You still got a lot of background noise going on there. Are we able to edit that out?
No, because it's live. We can't edit it.
Yeah.
Might have to mute Travis for a bit. Who knows?
Is it Travis or David?
David's microphone's been muted for a while. He's behaving nicely.
Oh, it's Travis. Okay, so day number 5 of the program, day number 4 of riding. It's another short day, and simply because A, the scenery is so amazing, we don't want to rush, and B, it's twisty, it's turns, it's just, we're going through from Gibson's, we go up to Seashell, and then from Seashell up to Saltery, to Saltery Earl's Cove, and we take another ferry for an hour now across Jervis Inlet to Saltery Bay, and then we ride for another hour up to Powell River. So we're on the coast, we're on ferries, we're taking in amazing scenery with the ocean over our shoulder the whole time. So it's not a lot of kilometers that day, but it's a must-see when it comes to scenery and riding and just cool stuff to experience, right? And that night we stay in Powell River, which is up on the north part of the Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, part of the reason I included that clip from your podcast interview was about the speed, because even though this is a short day mileage wise, it's also slower roads, which allows you to enjoy the view and not, like the speed limits themselves. Like when we talk about Port Alberni to Tofino, it's just the roads are slower roads, so you can enjoy them. And that's, I think, a key feature when you look at distances and not necessarily realizing you can't just average 100 kilometers an hour all the time. And that's what I think makes some of these tours really good, is it is a stop and smell the roses and enjoy the views, because this area is quite spectacular. You don't want to make sure
you don't want to go very fast through these areas as well, for all the reasons that Rob just mentioned, but also it's not safe because the roads, and there's wildlife too. There's going to be wildlife.
Lots of wildlife. That's part of the fun.
Yeah, Carmen's right. Throttle therapy isn't always about going fast. Hallelujah. That's correct. So the next day, we take the ferry first thing in the morning, and we have breakfast on the ferry. It's an hour and a half ferry ride. And then we head over from Powell River to Comox. And Comox is the home of the West Coast base of the Royal Canadian Air Force. And it's an air sea rescue base as well. So we from Comox, we head south down the east coast of Vancouver Island along the coast. This time the highway is over our left shoulder. We're heading south. And we ride all the way down to where we go through the town of Qualicum Beach, and we intercept just past Qualicum Beach. We intercept the Pacific Rim Highway, and we turn a sharp right, and we head west through the middle of Vancouver Island through Pacific Rim National Park, which has some of the oldest growing trees in North America. The old growth forests. That's why it's a national park. They're famous. They're huge, these trees. They're massive. We ride right through the middle of them, and we stay in Port Alberni, which is a port town, and we stay there for 2 nights. And Port Alberni is a really cool little place. After that, that's a fairly good ride that day. Only says 144 kilometers, but it's a fairly good day time-wise because of the ferry.
Yeah, and that's the key features is you're also taking the scenic route. Because when I lived in Comox in my Air Force career, we didn't have the inland highway, so it actually takes an hour longer to do Comox to Nanaimo than it used to. Or it's an hour shorter now with the shortcut, with the freeway that they carved in.
This route's so much better too, because you're right along the ocean. The new highway, you kind of stay on a 2-lane road and it's kind of above the ocean. You don't really see it. But once you get onto this route, you're right along the edge of the water. And then as you turn at Qualicum Beach and you go past Cameron Lake and then you go into Cathedral Grove, which is some of the big trees you're talking about before you hit Port Alberni.
Yeah. It's Vancouver Island riding is you want to take it slow and easy and just absorb everything that you're seeing and experiencing, for sure. So the next day, because we're staying 2 nights in Port Alberni, the next day it's a very active day. We head west again and we intercept the highway heading up to Long Beach, but we'll stop in Ucluelet, a little seaside town, and for a minute we'll just ride through Ucluelet and have a look-see at that. And then we're going to head north up along world-famous Long Beach. There's lots of scenic stops and viewpoints along the way. So again, we're going to be taking our time, going with the flow. Long Beach area is famous for surfing, storm watching, and abundant wildlife. We arrive in Tofino midday kind of thing, and we do a whale watching experience. We're going to go out and see some humpbacks and some orcas and whatnot out on the coast there. And then after that, we come back and we're going to have a barbecue dinner on the beach at Little Ronnie's Beachside Barbecue. Really cool place that the locals cannot say enough about. And then after dinner, we enjoy an early evening ride, a couple hours back to our hotel in Port Alberni. We don't stay in Tofino.
So this is another one of those stretches of roads where it's actually only 130 kilometers from Port Alberni to Tofino. Yet even the locals say it's a 2-hour ride. And so
minimum.
That's because your average speed is going to be low. Yeah.
And so it's really cool. We're going to be doing a stealth mission. We're going to be riding it as the sun's going down and that. So it's actually a really cool experience heading back to Port Alberni after dinner. So, yeah. So the next day,
we spent a weekend.
Go ahead.
We spent a weekend in Ucluelet a few years ago, and we actually caught a sunset on the ocean. First time I've ever seen the actual sunset on the ocean. It was so awesome. I love Ucluelet for that.
Yeah. It's amazing. So the next day, we take off and we kind of retrace. We ride the Pacific Rim Highway, but this time we're going east instead of west. We go back to the east side of Vancouver Island, and then we turn and head south again down to the town of Parksville and into the city of Nanaimo, where we're going to stop for a lunch, and then head to the town of Ladysmith and continuing on south to the town of Chemainus, where we're going to check out the world-famous Chemainus murals. The whole downtown core of the town of Chemainus, the buildings are all covered with murals, artwork and stuff. It's actually a really cool experience. We'll just ride through and take it all in. And then we're going to head down to the town of Duncan, where we're going to turn right, and we're going to head west again into the lakeside resort town of Lake Cowichan in the Cowichan Valley. And we're going to overnight there right on the lake at the Riverside Inn at Lake Cowichan and dinner in the Riverside Inn pub. And it's a really small, quaint little town. It's a vacation town. And we're going to stay there overnight. And then the next day, we're going to go to Rob's favorite town, Port Renfrew. Yeah.
Well, I've been there a few times.
Yeah, Port Renfrew is basically on the west coast of Vancouver Island, and the road that we're going to ride from Cowichan, Lake Cowichan, to Port Renfrew was only recently paved in the last decade, and There still are some bridges on that road that are one lane, narrow wooden bridges where you got to alternate traffic and you're crossing over. It's very rugged landscape out there. You're out in the middle of nowhere, and then you pop out in Port Renfrew, and we'll stop for a stretch and a snack and a lunch or whatever at the Port Renfrew pub, which sits right on the water, very popular with motorcyclists. And then after that, we head south along the west coast of Vancouver Island with the Strait of Juan de Fuca over our right shoulder. And on clear days, you can see the mountains of Washington State's Olympic Peninsula across the water over our shoulder. And there's lots of parks and beaches and places to stop and photo ops all the way along through those little towns of Souk, Machosen, and Colwood. And then we get into Victoria, downtown Victoria, in mid-afternoon. Victoria is the capital city of the province of British Columbia, and it has been dubbed the most British city in Canada. And we're staying downtown at the Inner Harbor area, which is a big walking tourist area. So because we get in there early that day, the afternoon and evening are free to wander around and explore. And I used to live there. So I've got lots of fun places, dining options to recommend to everybody. And
Big Bad John's. Take them to Big Bad John's.
Oh, yeah, Big Bad John's is cool. Yeah. You get to eat the nuts and throw the shells all over the floor everywhere. Yeah. Big Bad John's is really good. They got all the underwear and bras and stuff hanging on the ceilings and stuff. Yeah, that's cool.
Very classy place.
That's where you go to have a beer before dinner. But then for dinner, there's the Bard and the Banker, which is an old Victorian era bank that has been converted into a really cool pub. And then there's an Irish pub a block away from there, which has got really great food. There's a couple of really nice steakhouses right down on the water there. So there's lots of great places to eat in that area.
Yeah,
and
this actually, a lot of the local riders in the Victoria area, they will make a loop out of this Port Renfrew up to Cowichan Bay, then back down to Victoria. That is just their sort of like nice day ride. It's their version of the Cabot Trail for us, where you spend all day, hit some scenes, hit some pubs, and just have a nice ride. And that's when I left there in 2006, that was the last time I lived there. That road didn't exist. It was still just a dirt road, and for logging trucks. And so when they paved it, that just now the most common vehicle on it is a motorcycle.
Yep. You're exactly right.
I call that the paved bush road.
Yeah. When the Western Regional Hog Rally was there in 2019, July 2019, that was one of the day rides. Was exactly what you said. You head up the highway to Duncan, over to Cowichan, down to Port Renfrew for lunch, and then down the west coast back to Victoria. That was it's a beautiful ride. Yeah.
And that's another stretch where the Cowichan Bay to Port Renfrew, there's no not Cowichan Bay, Cowichan Lake to Port Renfrew. It's another stretch where there's no civilization. You are in the middle of nowhere, which is awesome.
Yep, you're out there, that's for sure. Yeah. So the last day, we leave downtown Victoria and we ride out the Pat Bay Highway from Victoria northeast up the Saanich Peninsula to the town of Sydney by the Sea, which is where my mom and dad lived the last 25 years of their life, and that they lived there. And then we finally arrive at the BC Ferry Swartz Bay Terminal for the hour-and-a-half crossing of the Strait of Georgia back to Tsawwassen and Vancouver. And we return any of the rental vehicles and motorcycles, and we head back to the same hotel again, the Sandman Signature near the Vancouver airport. And we have dinner that night and talk about all the fun we've had and all that kind of stuff. And the tour is over. as Bill Murray says. So that's it. It's a little bit shorter tour. It's the riding days. There's only a couple of days where you're riding, in the mid 300 kilometers a day kind of thing. But this tour is definitely more about the scenery, the ocean, and all the different experiences that the west coast of BC and Canada have to offer. Right? It's extremely difficult on the west coast of Canada to build an itinerary for any kind of vehicle that you're going to get a lot of riding in or a lot of driving in each day because of the landscape. You got too much water and too many mountains.
Yeah,
Right?
well, Carmen also hit the point there as well, as you have to look at ferry scheduling. These ferries run at all the different schedules, and you may only get 3 or 4 crossings a day. Because I'm not even sure, so if you can't time it right to hit the ferries, you can't get as far as you would expect to.
Well, actually, when it comes to the ferries, except for the Comox, the Powell River to Comox ferry, the Gibson's ferry and the Tsawwassen Swartz Bay ferry between Victoria and Vancouver, they are constantly running. There's always 3 boats going there every hour. Boom, 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 boom. Especially in the summertime, every hour, every half hour. The Powell River to Comox ferry is pretty close to that. It's every couple hours or so. So there's still several a day.
Yeah, but one thing that again, going with a company like Freedom Biker Tours is, like, I know Victoria to Vancouver, Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen, they always suffer through sailing waits, and so if people have to make sure that you make reservations and have it all planned out, and that's what Freedom Biker Tours does to make sure that you'll be on the right ferry when you need to.
Right, but the cool thing, because I've done all these ferries before, the cool thing about BC ferries is motorcycles. You go to the front of the line when you're waiting, and you're prioritized. You're the first ones on the boat and the first ones off. Motorcycles, I've never ever had to wait, even on the high volume, long weekends, and all that kind of. I've never ever on my bike had to wait on one of the ferries. So that's really cool.
We showed up at the Tsawwassen one time and we had to wait. They loaded us on. We literally got there like 3 minutes before the ferry left. We pulled up to the front of the line. They got us on the boat and we were parked at the back gate. As we pulled on, they closed the gate and we were right at the very back of the ferry. They made sure we got on though.
Normally
Normally
they get you right up at the front. There's a section up there, and you can. In the summertime, there's always at least 10 or 12 bikes lined up along there. But sometimes you're right; you get stuck at the very ass end of the car deck, like Travis just mentioned. But at least you got on, right? So
yeah, exactly. We would have had to wait another hour and a half for the next ferry. So we were actually doing a 411. So what that is we left Kamloops. You check in a dealership in Kamloops, Langley, and then Victoria, but you got to do it in one business day. So we took off here at 9 o'clock in the morning, rode to Langley, and then they get the manager sign off as you get there, and then you got to get to Victoria before closing time.
Wow.
And we pulled into the ferry thinking we were going to catch the next one, and they squeezed us on. So we ended up being like about 45 minutes earlier than we expected.
So this tour actually is one of my favorite. Well, they're all my favorites because I designed them all, but this one is really one of my favorites. So, yeah.
We often do that loop too from Kamloops ourselves. As we'll go to Linton or Lillooet and go over 99 to Vancouver and come around that way, or we'll go down Highway 1 and we can do the big loop. It's a full day. I mean, we're talking like 700-800K, but it can be done in a day.
That's iron butt riding.
Oh, really? So it's only 700-800K a day.
The sun's up early, sets late. You got time.
I think we did the trip. I think it was just under 1,000 kilometers, and we left Kamloops. We went to Lillooet, 99 to Whistler, down through Vancouver, and then we came back Highway 3 through Manning Park, up 5A to Merritt and home. And it was like 983 kilometers.
That's a good day. Just those roads you've hit are just a bunch of good ones. So, David, we've been talking a lot about this because this is kind of areas we all know. What questions would you have after having seen and heard all this?
Well, what I found interesting is what the mixture of rides and ferries and things like that is what we'll be looking at in Australia as well, because we've got the windy roads, twisty roads, long days where there's nothing, and just to get to the next place. And I definitely don't want to meet up with animals on the road. They, especially your ones. Yours are bigger than ours. Our kangaroos are big, but you guys have got monsters. What I found interesting on the tour, I actually started to think I wouldn't mind going on this tour. It's the food. It's the different types of food, different experiences along the way. We don't get, where I live, we don't get sunsets over the ocean. We get sunrises over the ocean. So it's a whole new experience for us. And every day it just seemed to be a different experience, a different Canadian experience. And I think that's important for somebody when they're going to a different country to experience traveling that way. And I also put up on the side, when traveling in a group like Freedom Bike Tours and me going over there, by having a ride leader, it reminds me that I've got to stay on the right-hand side of the road because we're right on the other. And I even got into trouble in the States. I had a GoPro blew off my helmet at 80 miles an hour, and we were on a freeway, and I pulled left. And you're not supposed to pull left on the freeway in the high-speed lane, because I went back to get my GoPro, and all I got was a lecture about, you pulled left, you pulled left. I said, mate, I live in Australia. If we get into trouble, we pull left. That's how it works. He goes, oh, but the Highway Patrol. I said, I would have told them the same story. Like, put the Aussie accent out there. I don't know what your Canadian police are like, if the Aussie accent helps at all, but in Australia, no one's accent helps. You're gone. Yeah, so great tour. You know, I can see it. I see maps of it all the time when I'm talking to you guys, but to actually walk through it or almost ride through it, totally different and absolutely brilliant. So thanks for that.
Well, you've got to come out this August and ride it with us then.
I know. I better get the pennies together.
Now, based on what I hear airfare is, you might need more than a few pennies.
Well, I think it's the Harley rental's the killer. Airplanes are cheap.
You know, a buddy of mine just flew home to visit family from Sydney, and I think he was almost $1,500 US a ticket per person.
Return.
To fly into Vancouver.
Return.
Yep.
That's not bad.
Yeah, well, except he's got a wife and two kids.
That's more expensive. Well, that's what happens when you decide to have family, I guess. That's your choice.
Yeah. Well, seeing as we've done talking about that, one of the things I do have on our outro is we are going to talk next about the Australia tour that's happening in about a year. So we're kind of excited, because that's going to be new to us, the other side of the road. And so we're looking forward to hearing what you have to tell us about riding in Australia. Because as you said, it's kind of interesting because there are some similarities of the long days long stretches where there's nothing in between. That's kind of what, our stereotypical notion might be of riding in Australia is just long stretches of the outback or something.
We're not going to quite go to the outback. We're not that keen. The tour would be a 30-dayer if we're doing that. But what we've got is a bit of a mixture where we've got a small national park, as it were, just south of Sydney that we're actually going to ride through. It takes like 30 minutes at 60 kilometres an hour. But one of the days we're going through a major national park, and we're basically the whole day in the national park. And there is nothing. There's few snow places like Thredbo and that, but basically between those places there is nothing. And sometimes you even get to see wild horses, which we call brumbies. I don't know what you guys call them. Americans call them Mustangs. We call them brumbies, but I don't know what Canadians call them.
I call them wild horses.
Wild horses.
Wild horses? That's a good expression. Wild horses is a good description. I like that. So there's that sort of mixture as well. That's why I was interested in listening to JD and Travis talk about the tour, and also Rob coming in on it, about the things that you'll see and do. I'm thinking they're sort of similar, but they're different. that infamous same but different, and that's really what it's about. And I think that's and another part that JD spoke about at the end of the ride, where everyone gets together and they talk about the good time they had. That's happened every time I've been on a tour. That's really a highlight. When you're solo riding, you end up talking to yourself, and that's not a really good sign that what a good time you had. And traveling by with a guide in front, I can vouch for that. From 2 weeks ago, I went to a little town called a little city called Bathurst to go a bike show. I came back and I had the GPS on because I wanted to check out a road, and it said turn left. I went, no, I know better. Went further down, turn left. No, I know better. I came to the third turn left. I thought, this is serious. I should start to consider turning left. Turn left, and for my good fortune, I went straight onto an unpaved road on the Harley for about 30 kilometres. So yesterday was, let's try and get the dirt off the Harley. We don't do that on the tours. That's why I go to check out the roads beforehand. I don't want to inflict unpaved roads on people. They're interesting the best.
So, as far as this new tour goes, it's just so everybody that's watching and all that, it's called Ride Australia Southeast.
Mm-hmm.
It is the last week of March and the first week of April 2025. So exactly 1 year from now, we will start marketing it and selling it probably in a month, maybe 2 months at the latest. Mm-hmm. And there's limited availability on it. And the motorcycles, there'll be some Harleys and some BMWs.
Yes.
Right, David? Right.
You were talking about the shortage you have in Canada. We have a greater shortage in Sydney at the moment because some of the hire companies have closed down. COVID has hit. So we've got access to a few Harleys, but the fleet is primarily, we're working with, BMWs, and they've got one road RT and the rest are all GSs. And you can pretend you're Ewan McGregor and Charlie Baldwin traveling through Australia because that's what they rode all the time, except that last one where they played with an electric Harley.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah. May the force be with you.
Yeah, well, with them on the electric bikes, they're allowed power a lot of times. There was no force in that.
But we're our next live stream, as Rob said, our next live stream is going to be talking about this particular program. Not sure if it's going to be next Saturday, the 13th, or whether it's going to be in 2 weeks on the 20th of April. But be sure and keep an eye on our Facebook and whatnot about that and tune in. And we'll have lots of really cool information about that particular program. That's definitely a bucket list program to head down to Australia for at least a couple of weeks. You're probably going to want to extend and do something else while you're down there as well. Seeing as how you're going all that way, but it's like I said, it's limited availability. And the good thing is the Australian dollar is not as strong as the Canadian dollar, so we get about a 10-point advantage being Canadians, and then any Americans that come got about a 40-point advantage on the pricing. So it's that helps a lot for sure.
Yeah, and the advantage will be for that one. I'll be talking, and I'm here, and I've ridden the roads like you guys have ridden the ones in Canada. So if anyone's got any questions along the way, it's going to be the opportunity. I'm ex-chairman of the Institute of Australian Tour Guides. I've been a president of a few of the bike clubs. So any questions that come up, I should know the answer. I'm not as good as Google, but I'm pretty close on that subject.
Interestingly enough, when I wrote my master's thesis at Railroad University 9 years ago, my supervising professor, he also rides a motorcycle. He's in Australia right now in Melbourne. And he's down there on some sort of a temporary tourism job thing or something like that. Anyway, he's down there. He posted last weekend, he and his wife drove down the Great Ocean Road, and he posted a whole bunch of pictures, and I got an amazing shot that I'm going to use on the website of the 12 apostles that he took. Really cool. Rock formation right on the coast. Yeah.
And I've got something disappointing for you. There's only 9. Erosion's taken a few of them out. It used to be 12, and we used to have a thing called the London Bridge, and although the English one didn't fall down, ours did. So now it's known as the London Arch. After the week after we do the thing, if it's on the 20th, I'll be actually going on the Great Ocean Road. My wife got there and said, I want to do the Great Ocean Road, but there is one condition with my wife. It's not, we're going to be cage riding. We're not going to be cage free. Sorry, JD. It's going to be in the car because that's what she said. But I'll be there and I'll do some postings while I'm going along the Great Ocean as well. So any questions that come up on our presentation, I'll answer while I'm on the Great Ocean Road. And I'm doing the whole route. What we're planning to do is what we're doing.
With all due respect to everybody's wives, I guess I'm just so lucky that my fiance, I have to throw her off the back of my Harleys because she just loves riding so much. So
my wife's the same way.
I think my wife getting thrown off the Kawasaki, no, the Yamaha at the time, was the reason she doesn't ride anymore, because we went down some dirt road and it was mud and the front wheel locked up and the bike decided it didn't want to play roundabouts. And I'm going jump, jump, jump as the bike's spinning. So that might be reason. Like, don't throw her off. Keep her on.
Okay, so any last, because we're actually almost bang on the time target, and so Travis, any last comments?
I would highly recommend this ride. It's a very, very good scenery change throughout it. It's some really, really twisty roads. If you like twisty, not very fast, like you said. There's some sections you can go fast, but you're going to learn a lot of history about BC. It's the geography around here is phenomenal and how much it can change in just a short little time.
Yeah, well, when the Highway 1 has a stretch they call the snake pit, you know, imagination as to why.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man, that's funny.
David, any last questions or comments?
No, I'm done. I'm now looking forward to 2 weeks' time. I think it will be 2 weeks. And I'll get to do all the talking for once. Normally I'm muted and kept quiet. So we'll have to mute a certain JD. Travis is okay. He just gets noisy background noises.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, JD, final closing comments.
I just second Travis's comment that, like I said, this is I think my favorite tour out of all the ones that we are offering. It's just the mix of riding and scenery and activities and that kind of stuff. It's hard to beat. It really is hard to beat. And remember, it's a vacation package. It's not iron butt riding here, and everything is included. These are vacation packages. Well, almost everything's included.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thanks everyone for watching, for the people in the side chat for participating. And I'll just throw in the outro now and have a good time. Watch our social medias for our next event, which is Riding Australia's Southeast.